Hello, Practicum students, and here is our weekly update for this week. All right, looks like we have another person who's finished up Castle Branch, so that looks good. Again, for those of you that still haven't got all that Castle Branch requirements done, please keep picking away at those, and hopefully get those wound up by the end of this week, and we should be just fine. Now, a few of you have emailed me in regards to sending in those logs. Um, do try to get those in on a consistent basis. And my fault is I thought we could do multiple submissions in Canvas for the logs, but we can't do that. So I've made some changes to the course. So let's take a look at what we're going to do as far as submitting those weekly activities that you have to do. And this should solve all of our problems. So all right, let's take a look at what we have here in the course. Pulling up the course here, so we'll jump into that. And this, again, this is where you're going to be able to submit these weekly items, the practicum logs. So what I've done is I was hoping just to use one Dropbox for all practicum logs, but we can't do that. So we have 16 individual Dropboxes for those weekly practicum logs. So just drop those in there every week. Keep that running total. It's okay if if it's a few days late. I mean, that's not a big deal. I know sometimes it can be difficult. One of you emailed me that you were having a hard time getting your preceptor to sign it because they weren't available. That's okay. And you can have someone else sign it. I'm okay with that too. So let's say you're working with not directly with your preceptor, but a designee. Maybe they say, hey, go work with so and so on XYZ project. It's absolutely okay to have that other person sign that. So if you can't find the preceptor, go ahead and have the preceptor's designee sign it, and we are good. The log sheets are really a mechanism for you to make sure that you're logging those hours and that you're on track. Now, one of you emailed me about some concerns about worried about getting the hours in, that they had canceled a day on you because of weather or they didn't have a project. Um, I would say at this point, we're entering week 3. It's not too much of a concern. But if this does still seem to be a pattern, let's say after week 3, week 4, and you are not able to get these hours in, they keep canceling days on you, then we probably need to have another discussion. Maybe that might look like perhaps a practicum reassignment. That's pretty rare, but it's something we can definitely look at that for you. I would address it first with your preceptor. That's what this is about. You talking to people within the profession, getting used to having those conversations. Have that conversation with the preceptor. Hey, look, I may not make my hours. I got to get 120 hours here. Is there any other mechanisms, any other processes I can do here, or another department I can work at? I'm interested in this, and this, and maybe you can be reassigned within that same organization. That's a possibility. If for some reason that doesn't work out, then we do need to look potentially at a reassignment in order to so you can get your hours in. Now, I will say that occasionally, for whatever reasons, maybe it's weather, maybe students been sick, and they've missed a week or two of their hours. We do have a way to make up hours, and that is you are allowed to continue with the practicum during spring break. You can do that. You can also continue the practicum all the way up until the first day of the summer semester. So you can do that, book more hours within that couple of weeks between spring and summer if you need it. It's pretty rare, but occasionally students have needed those weeks in between semesters to catch up on hours. What we can't do is extend it beyond that into the next semester without issuing an incomplete grade. So that is a problem. Now, again, if we're looking at a much more serious issue about hours, that could be something where we do issue an incomplete grade. I probably have done that once in the past 4 or 5 years, but it is out there if something should go tragically wrong, where especially with illness, student illness, or issues that are preventing them to get those hours. Because ultimately, we want you to get those hours so you can get that experience, you can make those networking connections. You can learn about the various professions that you have an interest in. and help you get to those 120 hours. So let's keep track of them. That's what the logs are all for. Let's not, I would say, have major concern right now. But if those trends continue within weeks 3 and 4, then I think we might be looking at some other conversations. But please address that with your preceptor first. Then you and I will talk and figure out something to do at that point. All right, so that addresses the log situation. So you'll be able to submit your logs. I do apologize for that. Same thing with weekly reflections. I now have 16 weekly reflections in there. Again, just a little way for you to kind of fill things out and pop it in there. If you've already submitted your log sheets to me in email, a couple of you just sent it to me in email because you weren't able to put them in the Dropbox. That's okay. Don't worry about it. But start using this, going back into Canvas in the class and submitting those log sheets back in this area here. But no need to go back and resubmit the old ones. So we'll be able to catch up on those hours because you've maintained running totals on all those log sheets. That'll give us a nice way to archive that information. All right, that basically concludes kind of the updates for this week. Everything else has been pretty quiet, so hopefully you guys are, other than some of the issues with one student with having the preceptor cancel a day on them. But if again anything happens out there, any concerns, please text me. Best way to get a hold of me. My cell phone number is located in the syllabus, so please use that. Also, just one more time, I'll talk about the weather because weather has been a concern, especially last week. If you are ever in doubt about going out to your practicum and you feel that the weather is bad, icy roads, foggy conditions, whatever it might be, you feel unsafe, you do not need my permission not to go. Okay, so do not go if you feel unsafe. Just make sure you please let your preceptor know first, and then just let me know second that you're not going to be out there today in case the preceptor calls me looking for you. So I mentioned that in our last weekly video. I want you guys to be safe while you're out there. All right, that concludes this week. Have a great week out in Practicum.